Hello, everybody. I'm Edith Espinola, and I am the productivity coach for KW Bay Area Estates in Los Gatos. And this is the mindset of the Millionaire Leader. It is an interview series where we go in deep and we learn what it takes to become a leader and a successful entrepreneur. So today I'm so excited. My guest is Rick Cunningham of the Cunningham Group, powered by Keller Williams. He is a serial entrepreneur and a business tycoon. And Rick, I have to say, welcome for being here today. I was so excited that I got to use the word tycoon. It was,
those are some big words to live up to here. So
well, you know, if there's anybody who's going to live up to it, it's you. I know that. So I know that you got into real estate 20 years ago, and you started with your, you went to Syracuse and you got your 5-year degree in landscape architecture and urban planning and development, and then you went on to get your MBA. What made you decide to go for an MBA? And what made you decide to study landscape architecture?
Well, in landscape architecture, like, I don't really care for plants and things like that. For me, it was all about, it was large scale design. I've always been kind of like an artistic person, and I really like design. I like creating things. So I used to do big hotel developments and mixed urban use projects. So I really liked that. And so the MBA was because I knew I would always own my own business. So I felt that I needed to have that kind of background. And I've never been like the best student. And if you look at most entrepreneurs, they're not necessarily your A+ students, right? Like, they tend to be a little more entrepreneurial. I even say I'll call myself scattered, because I think differently. I think abstractly, and I think strategically, and I use the creativity that shows up in different ways also shows up for me in business. And so that's what's worked for me. And again, when I see patterns out there, it tends to be the pattern of CEOs or, entrepreneurs that became CEOs.
Yeah, that's really great. And I love that you said that it's because you like to look at the big picture, right? And when you look at urban planning or architectural landscaping, it really is at such a high level. And it sounds like that's actually where you live your life.
Yeah, I do. And I like to be, I like to be creative. For me, creativity or owning a business is about problem solving. Like, whether I were to build a product or a company, I want to solve a problem, or I want to do something differently, so that way that I can create my own niche within whatever market it is, and do something where I can satisfy a need that I can then figure out how to create revenue behind it. So every time I see a gap in the industry, I hear the problems, I consult people, and then I figure out a business solution, then monetize behind it.
Rick, when you were growing up, did you like to do jigsaw puzzles?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because you like to put pieces together and solve the problem and again, see the big picture. And it's really cool because I'm getting this image now of who you are. So, when you like to solve the problem, when did you realize like that's what excited you? Was like looking at a situation and solving the problem, because that's basically what you've been doing, right? With all of the business
my whole life
opening.
Yeah, it's been my whole life. It's problem solving. I came from a very large family. So part of it is, how do I solve problems as a young kid? How do I be independent? How do I work with a team? With 11 kids in the family, like I was there having to try to figure some of those things out, right, at a young age. And so I've used those tools to help me in business as well. So,
where are you in the birth order of 11 kids?
Second.
Yeah. You know what they say about the second, right?
Yeah, I'm the one that took care of, the siblings and things like that. So yeah, I learned how to adapt, and I learned how to get along with a lot of people, and my family are very competitive. We had to fight for food, we had to fight for love, we had to fight for everything, right? So I've always been, that DNA is in me, but I've always been a team player because of it too.
Right, exactly. And so, also the second, they have the rebelness in them, right? Like, the first one is the one that the parents try to make perfect because it's their first time being parents. The second ones are like, screw that. I'm going to go do what I want the way I want it. Are you kind of like that?
my mother would say I was very much the black sheep of the family. Like, I'm a rule follower, but I always, like, if I didn't believe something was right, I always challenged things that they could be better. Or I never was willing to just, listen to say that's because I told you so, right? Like, I always challenged everything.
Right, right.
So,
And so your desire to challenge the norm is what allows you to see what could be better, right?
correct.
Yeah.
But it also, it's a blessing and a curse, because I'll walk into any business and I'm always thinking, well, why are they doing this? That's stupid. They could be doing this and they could make it more profitable. So I'm never happy with my own businesses. I'm never, like, anywhere I go, whether it's a hotel, I can't just relax. I'm always analyzing their processes or what they're doing good and bad, and creatively thinking about what they could be doing to improve it.
So that's just who you are. That's just naturally who you are, is always looking and seeing. So let's say, I'd love to see and hear what your process is. So let's say you walk into a real estate office. What kind of things are you looking at as the solution creator?
Well, number one, I want to see, I want to see the disposition of the people from the very front of the office, and how they greet the people, and what is that experience. I want to know what my experience feels like. I want to also, I like walking in my own offices on a weekend when the lights are off and when no one's around. When I turn the lights on, can I read the culture? Is it great? Is it like, is there energy? Is there synergy? Is it feel fun? And I actually would rather test the culture on a weekend when no one's around, because then people aren't telling you what the culture is. You're observing the culture. So it's experience, like, right? Is the, can you feel whether it's a good office or not, right? I don't even have to look at a P&L, and I could tell you by walking in. But conversely, I can look at a P&L across the country and also tell you if they have good culture based on certain metrics in numbers over time will tell me about their culture as well.
Right. So just on the little bit of the analytical side, how many offices do you have ownership in?
Physical offices, 26.
26 offices in both Northern and Southern California. And then
Hawaii.
and Hawaii, correct. And Hawaii. And then in I saw that KW Santa Monica is that's ranked as one of the top agents in Keller Williams, correct? Is that still correct?
It's certainly one. Yeah, it's certainly one of the biggest offices that within Keller Williams, as far as size and transactions, and number one in commercial for sure. We do almost $1 billion in commercial alone. We're actually overweight on commercial compared to residential.
Oh, wow. Okay. And is that one of the, I know that, you often speak at events regarding commercial. And so is that a favorite of yours? I know that you're also in luxury. So,
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we're like right now I'm leading the national task force to completely improve the commercial presence nationwide, and everything that I've built with my people and with that office specifically. We're now taking my playbook and adapting it and providing it and doing it nationwide, and also creating the marketing, all the support behind it, and helping to change the systems so that way KW Commercial is that much better in the future. I'm also on the board for the luxury home division task force on improving that too nationwide.
Wow, Rick, I knew that getting you on this interview series was a great feat, but I had no idea how badass you are. So thank you for being here, and congratulations.
Well, thanks. I mean, contributing my time and energy to the things that can really support our agents is the number one thing I can do to really help them, right? So if I can make a difference and lead the way, I'm going to just do it, because it's just, the time to complain takes me longer and sucks the energy out of me, where contributing my time and impacting things in a positive way is a lot more gratifying, and frankly, less energy. It stimulates me versus brings me down. So I'll listen to a challenge, but my goal is always to say, let me hear what the things are, but let me hear suggestions, and let's figure out how we solve that jigsaw puzzle, right? Like, it's, again, you look at any business that we've created, it's usually because I was told that was one of our weaknesses. Instead, let's go make it a strength.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love it. So that's where the challenge comes in, right? It's like, oh, if this is a weakness, then I want to make it a strength. And so do you find that when you come in and you know, you're there to help an office, or you're there to open an office, and you know how it is that you want it to start off with, like, I'm assuming you have like just basic foundational things that every office you help open up has to do.
Correct. I
What
mean, we
are they?
focus number one. So the way I launch, so I've been known as the best, like, what I do really well are launching offices. And what I do is, because the process for launching an office is very, very challenging. They put a really high bar, so that way they don't have, ineffective operators running them. So what I do well is to create all the documents and do everything that they need on the process side of things first, before agents in an area know that I'm even coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing so, that when I do start making people aware, because then all my competitors are also aware and they're going to try to work against me. So I go really slow and I build the stuff up first, the corporation filings, all that kind of stuff that has to be done. That's a lot of tedious work. But then I go really fast and really hard on the recruiting side to make sure that I get a great core group, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
part of the benefit of an office like yours is you have a core group that has been stable and consistent since day one, with great leadership, with Mark, and everything there has done really well because of the stability and the quality of the core group,
Right.
right? And
Absolutely.
so that makes a big difference. Even if you have team leader changes, you still have stability in the core, and it makes the biggest difference. The other thing too is you don't want to have a core group all from, say, one other brand, because then they want to run it like that brand, and then they're not running it on our model. And
Right.
so you have to get, I like to get a very entrepreneurial, like, small business owner who's already done it themselves, because they also add a different perspective than a top agent on a bigger brand, because they
Right.
think differently sometimes. They've experienced different things. So I try to get a combination of different people, because when you get a variety of perspectives and a variety of people, you then can lead an organization with great input. And I love different perspectives because it always gives us a better solution.
Right. And I think that everybody in our ownership group comes from different organizations. They come from different brokerages. So that's a
That
really
was on
good,
purpose.
was it? Yeah.
That's
And
completely on purpose. Yeah, it was exactly why it was on purpose. And then also getting like a Jim Myrick, who was in KW and knew all that. So that way, like, when you have people from all different areas, they can also bring in what was working really great, where they came from, right? So
right.
when agents, like, this can translate directly to agents. When you're building your own business and things like that, having other buyers agents come from different umbrellas helps, because they can also come with what other tools, or what was I aware of, or how did processes work better, that they can then incorporate into their team. And so that same model works everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And being open to other ideas, like it's not just KW, 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 that there's other
Yeah,
ideas that can be incorporated into the
of
umbrella.
course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because you gotta keep your head up enough to realize that, that you just want to have an awareness and always be looking, because everything is moving so quickly. The technology revolution has speeded up every single industry. And for whether it's an agent or it's a company or whatever, like, if agents aren't keeping up or companies aren't keeping up, technology will put them to the sideline. It's not the same business from 3 years ago, and it won't be the same business a year from now or 3 years from now. It's moving at such a rapid pace that you have to constantly be evolving and have awareness to change, because technology is moving things quicker and quicker.
Right. And I think with the technology platform that we have here now with KW, that we are at the forefront. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just, and again, because it's so big and things like that, it's almost cumbersome, because you got to try to figure out the pieces of it. But you just gotta kind of, like, embrace parts of it. and then slowly build onto it. So create a great foundation and then just keep expanding on it.
Awesome. So I want to go back just a little bit. I know that, 20 years ago, you started at DBL in Beverly Hills. Now it's Sotheby's, and you were one of the top 10 agents before becoming the first core agent and investor in KW in the Hollywood Hills office, right? How long was it before you decided to open up your next office?
It was 6 months. That's it. When I first came to KW, I took that 6-month window to really take my current business, which was my team, that wasn't working on a platform that worked to allow me to grow. And I really, really learned the models of the MREA. And that's what completely sold me on this company, because no other company out there had this kind of model in place. And you can imagine 15 years ago, I was like, this is the answer that I need. And I embraced it quickly. And I completely got my team up and running more effectively. So then I could go get distracted with next venture, right? So this is where the MBA part of me is. Before I would take something else on, I wanted to shore up the current business so that way that profit margin was still coming in, which again, I was able to keep a pretty hefty percentage of my, my sales going with leverage. And then I opened up the Los Feliz office next. And then from Los Feliz, from there, about 12 months later, I opened Santa Monica.
Wow, that's awesome. And so, what traits do you look for in a business partner?
First, I have to trust them. Nothing more important than trust, and trust and loyalty. That that like through great times is great, but like, are they in the trenches with me when things are not great? Because businesses can ebb and flow, and you really don't see partnership until things are difficult. So sometimes I'm loyal to a fault, but that loyalty and trust is like paramount in every relationship. And if I don't have that, we're destined to not be in relationship.
So
that's one. And then business partners too is like, I want to be clear on where they need to contribute and what is expected of me as well, because I want to make sure that I'm performing to their expectations and they're doing the same. And so I really slow it down and do mutual expectations at a very high level. So I know where my value is and I know where I'm weak. And not that I always hire to my weakness as it relates to business partners, because I don't know that that's the right solution either. But I hire business partners and usually cultivate people that I believe that then can run and manage the business. And I'm there more as as more of a visionary. I'm very good with problem solving, strategy, in that same kind of, like where I'm really strong has always been there. Like whether it was sports when I was a little kid, like, they like for soccer, they always called me clever because I was looking at the game from a strategy perspective when other people weren't. They were running to the ball, I was running to a space. And because I believe that like when you run to the space, if the right person also sees it, then you're gonna get the ball better and things like that, right? So same concepts apply across the board. And so strategy is where I lead from. And what I expect with partners is, if you say you're going to do something, then do it. If you can't do it and you need help, I have no problem with that. I just need to know. But it's do what you say you're going to do, and have a really high level of integrity, both internally and externally, and be a good representation of me, because me and my brand is at the weakest point of any relationship that I have.
Oh, why do you say that?
Because I believe that every decision or the way we show up, the way my partners show up to our consumers, to other agents, to whatever, is a representation of me, either good or bad. And vice versa. If I did something that was really poor, it would have a reflection on my partners as well. And so I always say, be presidential, and be presidential when people aren't looking even more so than when people are looking.
Mm-hmm.
If you always keep a level of, being presidential, then you don't have to worry about it. And if you always have transparency, like I move so fast, like I can't try to keep stories of what I said. So I'm always just like, what you see is what you get. I'm moving so fast.
Right.
And I'm not afraid to make mistakes. I'm afraid to make this. I hate when a partner can't make a decision. Because if they can't make the decision and come to me, I don't need them.
Right. Right.
Right. So I want decision makers, and I have no problem living with their mistakes, even big mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have a problem with people not making decisions.
Yes, right. Just being decisive and knowing. And I think that making decisions is easier when you know what your vision is, right?
Yeah. And to be honest, you fail your way forward all the time. Like I make more bad decisions all the time, but I'm making so many decisions. I'm always trying to course correct. And if you're moving through life fast and constantly trying to put yourself back on course, you inevitably get to higher places much quicker than other people that are trying to make it perfect the whole way through.
Right. So failing your way forward.
Yeah. And if you're moving it forward and you're just trying to, you're just trying to do your best to do, you can only do your best, right?
Right.
With what you have in resources and tools and things like that. So if you're constantly just coming from a place of contribution and value and moving forward, you can pull people with you, and you can do that. And people will give you a break when you make a mistake, mm-hmm. if they know you're truly trying to do what's in the best interest of whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I love it. Right. And that's the it just brought up the model of goal setting to the now, right? Like you're saying that you're a visionary. And so you have this vision, and that when you know what it is that you need to do to get there, then you have, your GPS, the goals, the priorities, and the strategies. And with you being a very strategic minded person, that makes much sense, because I kind of got excited when you said in soccer, you run to the space. Because if you run to the space, then the ball's going to come, right? Like that's manifestation. You go over there, the ball exists, it's going to come to you because you're there and you're ready. Like, what is that? Success is when opportunity knocks, you're ready, right?
Yeah.
So
and you have to be looking forward. Like, again, I'll take a soccer reference. Like if I have the ball, I'm looking to where the person is running to, not where they're at. Because if I'm putting the ball in front of them, then they can stay at full steam and they can catch the ball. So I'm trying to triangulate in front of them, mm-hmm. so that way when they're getting there, they're able to keep moving as fast as possible. If I put the ball to where they're at, they have to be stopped.
Right.
And it's like an engine. You can't get a train, like to get a train going, it takes a while. But if you move the ball way over there and they're running for it, they're on full pace, and then you can move faster, right? So, so that same thing applies in business, is help people to stay moving at the fastest pace, and allow and show them a path it's in front of them and what they can expect, and then deliver what you need in front of them, so that you're giving them the tools right before their need to use those tools to keep on that fastest pace. Right. If you can do that, your business can really accelerate and stay accelerated all the time. And it's very hard for competitors to keep up. If you're running at full steam all the time, your competitors cannot keep up, and they're not used to playing a game like that. And so therefore they become exhausted and they give up. And so it affects them mentally. And again, I use sports references a lot because I really believe the same concepts apply. But I believe that your competitors will not have the fortitude to keep up when you play a strategy that keeps a pace at which they are not capable of maintaining for long durations.
Absolutely. And I mean, here you are, 26 offices under your belt. You've got the pace going, right? So, in doing this, when people are running, continuing with the soccer, people are running, the ball comes to them and, they don't get it, right? Like they miss. It's a failure. What are your thoughts on failure?
Well, then it's my job as their teammate to say, come on, next time, don't worry about it. Let's just get the ball next time. Like, so it's part of that whole, like, we're never going to get all of you're never going to receive every ball. My pass might have been bad. Their run might have not thought where I was putting it. Like there's a lot of variables that come into play. Same with business, but the reality is they knew that I made my best attempt to do it. So even if I did it wrong and they couldn't get the ball, it doesn't matter whether it was my fault, their fault. Like it's just, let's just try it again next time and let's get better. And then through time, you get muscle memory too. So again, like sports, you get muscle memory. So the next time they have a better perception of what to expect from me, and I have a better expectation of what to expect from them.
Wonderful.
So I can judge their pace. I can judge the timing of the ball. I can do all those things, and that over time we'll be able to connect with a better predictable result.
I love it. Right. Like the only true failure is if you miss the ball and then you quit the team. Right.
Yeah. The true failure is just not even.
Failure.
Yeah. It's just is hogging the ball and thinking you're just going to run through people versus working through your teams and triangulate passes and things like that. Like, it's just not working together and trying to just do it. It's just not the smartest way to go. And over time, you're not gonna have a team.
Right. So I teach that, failure is just an event. It's not who you are. Right. And that if you have failure after failure, it shows that you're trying and you're moving forward and, you fail forward. Right. So, with you being as successful as you are, I'm sure you've experienced a lot of failure. That makes sense logically. Right. So
Yes.
do you have a failure that you can recall that really was very instrumental in pivoting you to the next step, which ended up being like a huge one?
Yes. I got into business because I ran after an opportunity, because I was tapped on the shoulder because of that opportunity. And I knew going in that the partners were probably people I didn't want to, that I probably wasn't a good match for, but the opportunity tapped me on the shoulder, right? So it was like one of the early opportunities. So I jumped too quickly and my gut told me not to do it. And I jumped because it was an opportunity, and I don't like opportunities to pass me by. What I've learned from that is not every opportunity is created equal.
That's a good lesson.
Yeah. And what I realized is right now, like I get a call every couple days, if not every week, about, hey, come build out this office with me, or hey, will you buy me out, or whatever. Like I have so many opportunities now, thank God, and knock on wood, that's a great blessing to have. But now it's about all the opportunities I say no to.
Yes.
I say no to almost all opportunities, and I literally pick and choose what opportunities to say yes to. And it's hard when you're early in your career or early in this, because, real driven people and very competitive, they're excited. Like, I was tapped for this opportunity, I can do it, and they're not thinking through, is this the right opportunity? And what is the cost of opportunity? Because it's the opportunity cost of what you're saying no to instead.
Right.
So the partners were bad. And so getting out of partnership was really challenging. That it was mentally draining. It was a problem. It wasn't great. And even though I really fixed their business, which was about to go under, to be honest, that business should have just gone under, and I could have picked it up, and really, it would have been a better opportunity to do it. I don't like to see people completely fail out, right? Like I also, that wouldn't have been good for them. But at the same time, that I should have assessed that situation differently. In hindsight, it's easier to look back at that situation, what I would have done differently. Number one, I would have been very, in the mutual expectations, I would say, this is what you can and this is what you cannot do. And if you do these things, we will not be in business. And eventually we got to that point, but that was after we were already in business, and it created problems for the business and created problems for me until I could exit that situation.
Wow. That's a great example.
Yeah. So I would say that, when it comes to getting into partnership, or when it comes when you're really like, it's no different from marriage. Like, slow down before you're getting married. You really want to have, a shotgun wedding. Like, the same thing applies to business. You're making a commitment for a very long time, if not forever, to who you're getting in business with. It's like it's a business marriage.
Right.
And if you're not going into it with that kind of personal investment or willingness to literally give yourself up in that business relationship and committed to it, even if another better opportunity comes down the road, you've made a commitment to that business and to that partner to follow through on it. And if people don't make those commitments all in, then they shouldn't have done it in the first place.
Right. Wow, that sounds like a lot of great lessons learned from that one, quote unquote failure, which ended up really solidifying some of the practices that you do now, right? Like, it sounds like in almost everything that you explain, you really trust your gut instinct and your tuition. Is that true?
Absolutely. My gut usually, I've learned to really listen to my gut. And I've really learned to slow down and ask better questions.
So when you first started to trust your gut, because sometimes it's hard to accept the fact that if you trust your gut, it's always going to lead you in the right direction. When did you learn to do that? Was it while you were, a kid with the 10 siblings, right? That you could tell and read the energy of what's going on and make your move? Or was it after you had gotten your education and started to do business that you realized, oh, if I trust my gut, then things tend to follow the way that I feel they will?
I think trusting your gut is an evolution too. It's about, I had it early on, but it's certainly a skill that you develop over time. And that gut is just reading people, looking at what their experience is. Like, you tend to like just have a better awareness about the people and about decisions that you're making. And I think that over time, with more education and more time in the same area, will give you a better sense of judgment. And I think that that's the gut feeling.
Yeah.
The judgment call.
Right. And then it sounds like you also have the ability to read people. Is that true?
Yeah, but I fail all the time. I mean, I've had embezzlement. I've had horrible, like, people who show up great on a resume, and their resume is great because their resume is always out in the market because they're terrible.
Right.
They're great at interviews, but they're terrible once you hire them. I make big hiring mistakes constantly. It's just it just is what it is, right? Like,
right.
It's but if you can limit the amount, if you can get better at it each time, you get better, right? The problem with agents is they only hire a few times in 10 years. Like, they don't have the practice of making those mistakes and seeing the difference of people, right?
Right.
What they should do differently, in my opinion, as it relates to agents, is they should go to people who are constantly interviewing people and rely on like a board of directors to evaluate, to give suggestions or ask other questions, so that they can use those other resources to make better decisions.
Right. So, excuse me. God, sorry. I want to sneeze. So, Tony Brody teaches career visioning, and he brings up the KPA and how important that is. Do you ever use the KPA? Have you found that to be a tool that helps you, or do you just rely on the other people to do that for you?
No, I absolutely use it. But here's the thing. I don't exclude people or I don't give them an up or down based on their match to the score. I use the KPA report as a tool to review on my own first, and really spend the time before the interview to then create a list of questions that I want to probe to get better clarification on the report.
Right. Okay.
So for me, it's less about the way the numbers show up, but how the numbers show up, that then I'm going to ask questions like, that says, hey, it says that you're a very intense person. On a scale of 1 to 10, would you consider that to be accurate? Or where would you, how does that show up in your life in other ways?
Right.
What would your wife say, if whether you were, I don't know, patient? Because if you ask them about their personal life, their wife's going to say, oh no, I'm totally impatient.
Right,
you
right.
know, and so if you relate to them on a personal level, you'll also get more of their natural profile.
Hmm.
But not only do I use the KPA, but I'm literally doing the career visioning today too while sitting on the beach.
Oh,
So
that's
I'm literally taking
awesome.
the class again. So this is like my sixth time taking the class. So I can, I probably can just kind of like put it on, somewhat on autopilot in my ear. But the reality is, it still reminds me every time, and every time it gets taught by different people, I learn something from different people, and
Hmm.
I learn something each time. And sometimes you don't like it. Like if you want to be a master at anything, you got to do it multiple times. The MREA book I've read, a dozen times.
And so I would imagine you're recommending that to all the agents in the that are listening now and later.
It's not just agents though. In my opinion, if you just took that and it's for small businesses,
Hmm.
because for small businesses, you need to understand leverage. Like you want to run a yogurt shop. Like, how do you hire and train managers? How do you then look at your expenses? What is your marketing? What is your marketing as a percentage? Like, it's just a small business. It's a small business owner's book.
Hmm.
It just happens to be tailored in the real estate, and the research was done in real estate. So it's the most applicable book for our for ours. And I see a comment coming up. It's a blueprint. It is a blueprint for our industry. And yet I also believe that some of the in the high end, I also don't know that you need to run with these huge big businesses in order to net. At the end of the day, it's about net. So
Right.
if your margin is not strong enough, you don't need more people. You need to look at what you're getting for your investments and look at the ROI. And people say, well, this person's going to cost me money. Well, they will cost you money, because I look at employees differently. I look at any employee as an ROI. Like, can that employee give me time so that my time can be spent on more dollar productive activities? And if so, then there's a direct ROI, because my time can produce this in return.
Right. I love that.
So
So,
then I was going to say, so when they evaluate people being added to their structure, including buyer's agents, they have to look at the time that they're investing and the leads that they're giving them. Is that the best ROI, or should they be getting another admin, a
mhm.
second admin, versus getting a buyer's agent first? Because if I were to give even more of my admin, I will convert higher than giving to a buyer's agent.
Right, exactly. Because admin does everything that you don't want. Yes, like Carl says, leverage, right?
Correct.
Love it.
Yep. And you look at, like, if someone wants to really see what an agent who really looks at says, my time best spent are with the clients, and if I can give everything else out, you look at a model like a Stephanie Vataco,
Mm.
number one agent, residential agent in the entire company as a solo agent. I believe she has 7 or 8 actual admins. That's all she has. She handles all the clients, but everything else is
Wow.
done for her. Everything else is done. And the reality is, she can produce at that level because she realizes that she can convert at a very high and fast clip. And then she's taught the clients and she's taught the staff to come from a concierge level of staff of service, where they can really do great support work while she can be doing nothing but client interface.
I love that, right? She's getting to do all the fun stuff, the client interface and then the
Yeah.
agent interface, right? So, you've talked about like the customer experience again, just in mentioning her and then with what you like to see in your office. So, what is it that you think that the customer is looking for and what experience would they want so that the agents here could hear? What do you think?
The customer wants just a few things. Number one, first and foremost, they want to feel that they can trust an agent. How many customers literally will even hand their house keys to their friends?
Hmm.
Think about that for a second. You're meeting them for the first time, and they're handing you the key to their house and their codes to their alarm systems. You now have access to their offices and to their jewelry boxes and everything else, right? Like, so think about that. Their friends don't have access. So you have to build trust first.
Right.
If they don't trust you, you're not going to get the job. So first is trust. Then they have to believe that you're going to be able to get them the best price by doing what you're going to do. So it's like, what are you going to do to sell my house to get me the highest price? So what if you're going to tell them what this price is, they want to believe that you will deliver on what you say in order to get them the highest price. But they also, just as equally as price, they want to know that you're going to do where it's hassle-free, where it's not going to be a nightmare transaction, even at the highest price. They will give up a couple dollars in exchange for a hassle-free transaction. So it's price and the ability to be able to navigate the escrow and close the deal as effectively as possible. And they would prefer working with all of your vendors where you can have better control, where you can just make sure it all gets done, and where people aren't throwing each other under the bus, creating all this chaos. So they like to have it where it just seems seamless for them.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Thank you. So I want to know what you have this great vision, and it drives you to do what it is that you do in both business and life. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what is your big vision?
My real vision is to change this industry, at least in California. Like I really want to leave a legacy. So you know, that when I'm done, that I've really changed the industry in California. And a lot of what I want to change is the level of sophistication and fiduciary, because I think that our industry lacks a level of, I'm shocked that people pay us as much money as they do for in some, I don't want to say the education level, but they entrust our agents with really big dollar signs, and our agents need to have a better understanding about finances, about business, about what different products are, and we need to raise that level. We're not good enough. We're not good enough as an industry. We need to change that. So I want to leave a legacy of changing the threshold at which I want our agents, at least in my businesses, to be at the highest level. That would fulfill one of my big passions. So the consumer trusting that our fiduciary is at the absolute highest level is probably one of the biggest things. Number two, I want to make sure that, like, as it relates to you know, that this industry is really left with a place where it's not just the education that they provide, but that they're really coming from a place of contribution to the communities in which they serve. So philanthropy and about giving back and being like part of the whole fabric of the community, I think, is an important part of this. Like these communities can provide great deals of income. I think that our agents are also responsible for helping their neighborhoods to become better as part of it.
I love it. So you want to leave the world a better place than when you found it.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, just the offices that I'm familiar with that you are ownership in, you know, there is that level of sophistication of the agents, right? They do have a, you know, it seems like they do come from a higher standard, and the education and the support and the services and even the buildings all have a really nice feel to them. Like, this is a higher level than some of the other agents I know that I've worked with. So, you know, that's great, and keep going, because I agree. Yesterday I was listening to Aaron Kaufman, you know, the KW Effect guy,
Right.
and he was talking about, in our industry, we have idiots and experts. We all get paid the same, right?
Correct. I
And
couldn't
so,
agree more with that.
right.
Yeah, and it's just it's an embarrassment as an industry, and there's a reason why technology is coming in, because our industry has been antiquated. Our industry is worth trillions of dollars worth of, because it's not just the real estate sales that takes place, it's all the ancillary and all the other businesses that get generated and fueled by real estate transactions that are a domino effect because of it. So there's a reason why technology is coming in so hard and aggressive to try to wipe out the agent in some ways, because the agent needs to get better.
Right.
The agents need to be better.
Right.
And again, that's why I believe so highly in our training and education. And again, that's why this platform makes so much sense, not only for me to fulfill my big why, but also to the cause and effect that has for the consumer base.
Mm-hmm.
And look at if someone does something really dishonest or does that, like I have zero tolerance. I want them out of our organization. I want them gone, because they're a reflection on the rest of our agents, a reflection on me, and I won't deal with that. I have zero tolerance.
Right, right. I agree. And that, that reflection part, because you've talked about that, who we surround ourselves with are a reflection of who we are, right? So you always want to
Correct.
be surrounded by people of integrity, people of purpose, right? People of vision. And, even just down to being an agent referring a contractor to our client, we want to make sure that that contractor is a good reflection of us, right? Anyone that we refer
Correct.
for our business needs to reflect our values, right?
Absolutely. They need to not only reflect that, but they also have to realize that the impact that they can make on your client, good
Mm-hmm.
or bad,
Mm-hmm.
and that you're supporting them and endorsing them, and that you're putting your neck out there for their relationship. And so it's important that they do the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to show up the same way with other vendors too. Like if you show up horrible to the consumer, or your escrow officer shows up and is just horrible to the buyer or seller, how would you feel about that client had a bad experience? You're tied to that transaction. Yeah, they might say, yeah, it was their fault, but at the end of the day, they still pull you into that bad experience, and it affects your referral and your repeat business.
Yes.
So who you surround yourself with is critical in your business, no matter who it is or where it is.
Right. Exactly. So, Rick, you've talked about what your vision is for real estate. So what your professional vision is. What is the vision or the goal that you have for your life?
Frankly, just, be financially solid, and to leave a legacy. I really want to really change things. I want to fully fund, like school art programs. I have a list of things that I really want to accomplish as part of like my legacy. So it's not just about business, but again, I'm an artist at heart. Most of the artwork in all the offices are art that I painted. But I did that and I gave it to my clients. But really for me, it's about like, letting the next generation be able to have the same things that we were able to have when we were kids, like art, like music, like sports, all the stuff that seems to be getting cut out a bit. So I just want, and I'm really focused on changing the next level of entrepreneurs. My goal is to, start really teaching and growing, and like I give back at colleges. I teach the School of Entrepreneurship at USC. I've done that sometimes, meeting with a bunch of kids that are just going into college, that are budding entrepreneurs, and how I can really give them some guidance and things like that. So similar to just really giving back. And it also allows me to see what that next level of talent is that I'd want to be in business with. But really it's about like helping them to succeed and create a pathway for them to navigate.
So I love the fact that you're an artist, and I didn't know you were a painter. That's amazing. And I'm a photographer, and I used to be on the board of directors of a nonprofit called Starting Arts to bring those lost art education back into the schools. So with you knowing that that's important to you, I love that. So as an artist, what's your favorite kind of art to do? Like, do you like oils, watercolor?
I do oils. So I do oils, and I have them in a lot of the offices, but I paint them. And again, that was what I would give a client as a gift when I would close a transaction. Tell me what colors you want, and I would custom paint something, or they would come in and I would do it. Like I wanted to be an artist when I was a kid, but I wanted to be rich.
Yeah.
So I felt like going to the MBA and building business and doing that. But no, like again, we don't have one of my coffee shops in your area, but in the places where we have my coffee shops, what we do is we bring in so we connect with a local public school, and then the public school, they bring all their art programs on. We put them on the walls. We do professional photography, and then every time that they do a big art installation for the kids, we contribute 20% of all the coffee shop proceeds back to the school to fund the arts program. And my goal is to fully pay for their entire art program in the public schools. And then in between all the kid art projects, we would then bring in professional artists, and every time they do showings, any of the artwork that they sell, we then take 20%, and again, that goes to the school fund that we provide. And at the end of the year, we do what's called a coffee table book, and the coffee table book will be all the artwork from the whole year that we professionally photograph. Mm-hmm. And then our photographer is in there as with charitable time. You know, we get our expenses covered, but again, a coffee table book stays there, and I can even put my businesses in there. So I get benefits, but I've really left, you know, I'm really allowing the kids a platform to show their art, which I think is great, because mm-hmm. most of these kids like, if they feel like their art is going to be up on a wall, they're going to do better. They're going to take
Absolutely.
more time while in class to make it better, because their artwork's going to be shown to the public.
Right. And then to have it in a book, right? It's like forever.
Yeah. So our goal is to do stuff like that. So as I expand the whole, and again, we're franchising coffee shop model, but they won't be able to get the franchise if they don't agree to pair with a local school and do that. So that's part of our give back. So that's part of that whole big legacy thing that I'm trying to create.
I love that. And that really builds up the community. It really builds up the kids, and then having the display and the exhibit. I mean, that's beautiful. That's really, really beautiful, Rick. Thanks for doing that. You know, I can't help but have visions of you, like, you know, painting, and, you know, do you have like the music going on, and that's
what it is. My garage. Last weekend I got up and I painted another huge piece, you know, so
you just get lost in it, right?
I'll drive one up to Las Gatas.
I would love it. I would love to see it.
I drove up like 5 or 6 to the new Alameda office, so I'll have to get you one for Las Gatas.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would love to see that. I bet it's beautiful, especially just with the energy that you bring to it, right? That's beautiful. So we just have a few more minutes. I enjoyed talking with you so much, but I want to get some questions if there are any. Sure. Does anybody have any questions? You want to raise your hand? So we have Tony, this is good stuff, Rick. We always appreciate your wisdom and time. From Kim, loved your outer interests. What's the name of the book?
It's just the Estate Coffee art book.
I love it. Estate. Wow, that's so awesome. I want a coffee table book. This is amazing. Thank you for what you have been doing for the young artists. I love it. Can they get a link to the coffee chain to see all the artwork?
So it's just estatecoffeela.com, and you can see it. Like the closest, we're just starting to reopen the one in the Bay Area, which is in San Mateo, which is only the small model, but the big models are in Santa Monica and in Pacific Palisades.
Oh, that's great. So you have 3 now?
Yeah, we have 3 coffee shops right now. Of course, two of them were only open, one for 7 days, one for 8 days, and then got shut down from COVID. But we're open in Santa Monica again, and we're just opening San Mateo now.
That's great. I love it. That's great. So Galen has a question. Galen, do you want to unmute yourself?
Sorry about that. I was taking a minute there. As a business partner with you, Rick, thank you so much for everything. And a fellow entrepreneur, looking for some next vision or guidance on opportunities that are out there to take on as a business or a venture. So do you have any recommendations or suggestions?
Yeah, you have to qualify the opportunities. So you have to look at like if you, like, because you do such high level sales, right? So you have to look at your dollar per hour that you make by doing what you're doing. So you have to say, is the investment that I'm looking at it's gonna take time, right? So it's gonna distract you from your core business. So what impact is that gonna make to your core business, as one variable? But if you're doing it because it's something you're passionate about, it doesn't matter necessarily what the amount of money is. Because like for me, I was bored of doing sales. Like I get bored of things, right? So for me, it was more about doing something that could fill my why or my passions. So when you look at opportunity, you have to look at what is the opportunity cost, like I was referring to. So is it a passive investment? Is it an active investment? What kind of time is it going to take, and what do I expect out of it? And if I'm getting something besides just money, then that's a big variable. So you have to weigh all that before taking on a new challenge.
Thank you, Galen. Doug, you have a question?
I just wanted to say thank you very much, Rick, for giving an hour out of your holiday here and sharing with us. And Edith, I just want to commend you that this is one of the best Zoom video. I'm on Zoom all day long, and this is one of the best interviews and way to spend my time for the last hour that I've had in a long time. So thank you both. And just so everyone understands, I don't know if everyone really knows Rick, but Rick is one of our business partners in Los Gatos, Saratoga, and Carmel. So he's part of our ownership group in all three of our offices.
Well, it's like, and Doug was one of the first people I met as we were just starting to build out Los Gatos in the very beginning. And again, our early meetings, I knew that Doug was going to be a great business partner and has exceeded even my expectations through that. So again, when it comes down to meeting people and having those conversations and what we can expect, that's what partnership is about. So when I talk about partnership, I mean, the same conversations happened with Galen when Galen and I got together, and what would the partnership look like? What would the investment look like? What could they expect from me? And what would that business look like? And I think that, they would like, it's the follow through, but it's also about what they, like I never try to jump in and micromanage, but I'm here to support as they need help and things like that. And again, I don't proclaim to have all the wisdom, but I'm willing to jump in and problem solve if we need to do that, for sure.
That's so awesome. Thank you. And thank you, Doug, for your kind words. You're so sweet. And, when Rick's talking about, working with people that he trusts, you're one of the most trustworthy people out there. So, I'm honored to be in business with you too. So thank you. So Carl Batiste, my aha today, in order for every business leader to really win, we need to focus on how we be a great thought leader. This way we always stay ahead of the pack. Otherwise we just lead with the rest of the pack, not ahead. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Carl, do you want to add anything else?
Nope. I think it pretty much says it all. Rick, thanks for taking your time today. You're
absolutely.
Yeah, this is awesome. So thank you, Carl. So I have another question. Any recommendations for any books that were impactful in shifting the way you look or think at things, the way you think or look at things?
Fierce Conversations Changed My World. That's one of them. So the MREA book, probably number one, when it regarding real strategy and tactics for the MREA. That's one. But Fierce Conversations by Susan Scott is incredibly beneficial. So when you really need to have those conversations, it gave me the tools in a process that I really took. It's really helped me through time. That book is great. Pretty much anything from Simon Sinek, but his book or his TED Talk called Why, I recommend anybody to watch that 21-minute TED Talk on why. That gave me clarity on my vision. And the way I started this is maybe the way I end this, which is I've learned to put stuff into my schedule. As busy as I am, I do a beach day. It's less about being at the beach. It's about turning off every distraction in my life so I can focus on the business versus in the business. Yeah. So I've managed to change my schedule to do things that's going to allow me to to show up the best. So part of it's recharging my battery and doing the things that I need to do for myself, because I can't be an effective leader for others if I'm not constantly growing. So the way I do it is I've got to be the one to see the future, be the vision, and then help people to see that and then help pull them forward, not to micromanage them down. I look at leading as a way to pull people forward, not to suppress them. It's the opposite.
Rick, you have imparted so many words of wisdom with us today, so many great strategies on how to build our own businesses and how to approach life. And I want to thank you so much for sharing everything that you've done with, everything that you shared with us today. If there's any other closing words, I mean, what you said was so beautiful, but if there was anything else you wanted to say to the agents who admire and respect you and are on the call right now, is there anything you want to say before we close out?
Well, I'll just say one thing about, things like COVID. I think that a lot of people find the gifts in COVID and focus on the gifts of what COVID has done. I've had more time to be with my kids. I've had more time to be FaceTime with our agents. Like, I'm more prevalent now. I'm not spending my time feeling isolated on planes and in hotels. Like, find the opportunities right now, because this is the market that we're in. And if you allow yourself to have, see what those benefits are, you can really get some greatness out of it. And again, we have, the markets are on fire. And I just think that, it all starts with ourselves first, right? Like, look introspectively and about how you show up to yourself is how you're showing up to others, and just be authentic.
I love that you said that, right? Because being forced to be in our homes, it's like that center of, hopefully for most people, it's like that center of calm. So when you're in that center of calm, then it gives you an opportunity to really review what's going on outside, right? And
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
yeah, and it's like, COVID's not this great thing, but there is the gift. And so thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
For sure.
You showed us about business, and then now you showed us how to unplug. Thank you so much for taking the time away from your vacation. Please say hi to Marty and the girls, and enjoy that beautiful beach, Rick. Thank you so much for everything that you do. All right.
Okay, bye, everyone.
Have a beautiful day. Everybody, thanks for being here. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a beautiful day.